The warning. The Grand Concilium of the United Galactic Species prided itself on knowing everything that happened within their domain. Their surveillance networks spanned thousands of light years. Their diplomatic tendrils reached into every spacefaring civilization, and their technological superiority remained unchallenged for millennia. So when the message arrived from Sol System, it shattered their carefully maintained illusion of control. High Counselor Zexra, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation, watched the holographic projection for the 7th time. The human figure stood tall, wearing what appeared to be a simple gray uniform without rank or insignia. Their composure was unsettling. No fear, no anger, just absolute certainty. To the Grand Concilium and all spacefaring species, the human began, their voice carrying an authority that seemed impossible for such a young race. For 3 centuries, you have watched us struggle, denied us aid, and dismissed our potential. You believed our isolation would keep us weak. Instead, it made us stronger than you could imagine. Zexra's assistant, Nixus, entered the chamber with a data crystal. High Counselor, we've verified the transmission's origin. It came from Earth, but the assistant's tentacles twisted in confusion. We can't detect how it was broadcast. It somehow reached every communication system simultaneously, even the encrypted military channels. Impossible, Zexra whispered, though she knew it wasn't. The evidence played before her eyes. What else have our observers reported from Earth? Nothing unusual, High Counselor. Their visible technology remains centuries behind galactic standards. Their ships still use primitive fusion drives, their colonies are limited to their solar system, and their military capability is. Nixus paused, checking the data again. Negligible. The human in the projection continued their message. Today, we reveal the truth. We've developed something that will fundamentally change the balance of power in this galaxy. We didn't want this confrontation, but your continued suppression of our species leaves us no choice. Zexra felt her crystalline structure vibrate with unease. The Concilium had indeed worked to keep humanity contained. Their simulations showed that humans, if allowed to develop freely, would eventually challenge the established order. Their adaptability, creativity, and relentless drive for improvement made them too unpredictable, too dangerous. You have one standard galactic cycle to acknowledge this message and open genuine diplomatic relations, the human declared. After that, we will demonstrate our capabilities, not as an act of war, but as proof that your assessment of humanity has been fatally flawed. The message ended, leaving the chamber in uncomfortable silence. Zexra turned to her assistant. Summon the emergency council, and get me everything we have on their recent scientific developments. High Counselor, Nixus ventured carefully. Perhaps we should consider their offer of diplomacy. No, Zexra's response came sharp and decisive. If we show weakness now, other species will question our authority. Humanity must be dealt with before this situation escalates. As the assistant hurried away, Zexra accessed the Concilium's secure archives. She found the original assessment of humanity, written 3 centuries ago, a species of interest showing remarkable potential for advancement. Recommendation: careful monitoring and selective intervention to prevent rapid technological development. The assessment had seemed wise at the time. The galaxy needed stability, not another ambitious young race disrupting the careful balance of power. But as Zexra reviewed the subsequent centuries of reports, she noticed something disturbing. While human advancement in observable areas remained slow, there were persistent gaps in their surveillance data, small inconsistencies that individual observers had dismissed, but when viewed together, formed a pattern. The humans hadn't been struggling. They had been hiding. In the depths of Earth's most secure facility, Director Sarah Chen watched the same message being broadcast across the galaxy. Unlike the aliens who received it, she knew what would happen when the deadline expired. Project Prometheus wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was humanity's declaration of independence from galactic suppression. Status report, she commanded, turning to her team. Dr. Marcus Rivera, head of theoretical applications, looked up from his console. The quantum network is holding stable, Director. All test sites are synchronized and ready. We can proceed as planned. And our observers? She asked. The Consilium's agents remain unaware, Colonel James Wright reported, his cybernetic eye scanning multiple security feeds. Their surveillance systems still can't detect our quantum shielding. As far as they're concerned, we're still tinkering with basic fusion technology. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. 300 years of pretending to be technically primitive while developing in secret had been difficult. The Consilium's attempts to suppress human advancement had actually driven them to create something revolutionary, a way to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. They won't accept diplomatic relations, Colonel Wright stated. It wasn't a question. No, Sarah agreed. Their entire power structure depends on maintaining technological superiority. They'll try to crush us quickly, to make an example. Then they'll learn what humanity does best, Dr. Rivera added, his expression grim. Survive. Adapt. Overcome. Sarah looked at the global status board, watching as humanity's hidden installations prepared for the coming conflict. The Consilium thought they were dealing with a primitive species making empty threats. In one galactic cycle, they would discover just how wrong they were. The warning had been delivered. Now, humanity waited to see how the galaxy would respond to their emergence from the shadows. 3 centuries of preparation were about to change everything. Hidden strength. The Consilium's response came exactly as humanity had predicted. Within hours of their deadline's expiration, a massive fleet of warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Their arrival was meant to be intimidating. Thousands of vessels, representing the combined might of the galaxy's dominant species. In her command center beneath the Himalayan mountains, Director Chen watched the holographic display with calm detachment. The alien ships formed a perfect containment pattern around the solar system, following standard Consilium military doctrine. They'd brought enough firepower to glass 3 planets, Colonel Wright observed, his cybernetic eye rapidly analyzing the tactical data. Typical Consilium overkill. Are all stations synchronized? Sarah asked, ignoring the implied concern. Dr. Rivera nodded, his fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted controls. Project Prometheus is ready. All nodes are connected and stable. We can proceed whenever you give the word. On the primary display, a new message from the Consilium fleet appeared. High Counselor Zexra's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained rage as she spoke. This is your only warning. Surrender your leadership for trial, or we will be forced to take decisive action to protect galactic stability. Sarah smiled. Send our response. The message was brief. Look up. Aboard the Consilium flagship, Zexra's confusion quickly turned to alarm as her sensors began reporting impossible readings. The space around her fleet was changing. Reality itself seemed to twist and bend in ways that violated every known law of physics. High Counselor. Nixis called out in panic. We're detecting massive energy signatures everywhere. They're not coming from any source. They're coming from space itself. Before Zexra could respond, she watched in horror as sections of her fleet simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone, as if they'd never existed. Other ships found themselves suddenly thousands of kilometers from their previous positions, their carefully planned formation shattered in seconds. Impossible, she whispered. They can't have this level of technology. We've watched them for centuries. On Earth, Sarah watched the chaos unfold with grim satisfaction. Quantum field manipulation, she explained to her team, though they already knew the theory. We're not actually attacking their ships. We're simply adjusting the probability of where they exist in space-time. The Consilium fleet's attempts to regroup proved futile. Their weapons, when fired, found their energy dissipated harmlessly into probability spaces that didn't exist moments before. Their shields, designed to stop any known form of attack, were useless against local modifications to the laws of physics themselves. They're retreating, Colonel Wright announced, unable to keep the pride from his voice. Over 60% of their fleet has withdrawn from the system. The rest are, well, they're wherever we put them. Sarah nodded. Send the second message. Across every communication channel in the galaxy, humanity broadcast again. This time, the message included visual proof of what had just occurred. The mighty Concilium fleet scattered like leaves in a quantum wind. We didn't develop better weapons, the broadcast explained. We found a way to change the rules. Your technology is impressive, but it still operates within the conventional laws of physics. We learned to write new laws. In the Concilium's emergency chamber, Zexra faced the harsh reality of their mistake. The humans hadn't been struggling under isolation. They had used that isolation to pursue advancement in directions no other species had conceived possible. How did we miss this? One council member demanded. Our observers were looking for advancement in known scientific paths. Another interrupted. We watched them experiment with fusion, with conventional propulsion, with standard weapons technology. We never imagined they would find a way to manipulate reality itself. Zexra finished, because we assumed they would follow the same technological progression as every other species. We forgot what made humans dangerous in the first place. They don't think like us. Back on Earth, Sarah reviewed the after-action reports. Project Prometheus had performed even better than their simulations predicted. The quantum network, hidden for decades in underground facilities across the planet and solar system, had proven capable of protecting humanity from even the galaxy's most powerful military force. Director Dr. Rivera called out, his expression concerned as he studied incoming data. We're detecting unusual quantum signatures from several nearby star systems, non-concilium in origin. Other species testing their own quantum manipulation technology, Colonel Wright suggested. Sarah shook her head. No, they're watching, learning, deciding. She pulled up a galactic political map, studying the complex web of alliances and dependencies that had kept the Concilium in power for so long. Today we showed them that the Concilium isn't invincible. Now every species that's been waiting for a chance to break free will be considering their options. You think they'll side with us? Wright asked. Some will. Others will try to develop their own versions of our technology. And the Concilium. She paused, considering the possibilities. They'll be back, with new tactics, new technology, new allies. This was just the first move in a much longer game. But we've changed the rules of that game, Dr. Rivera pointed out. Permanently. Sarah nodded, watching as reports of political unrest began flowing in from across the galaxy. The carefully maintained balance of power that had kept the Concilium in control for millennia was already beginning to crack. Humanity's hidden strength had been revealed, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be quite the same. Prepare for Phase 2, she ordered. It's time to show them that quantum manipulation was just the beginning of what we've been working on. The alliance shifts. The ripples of humanity's demonstration spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In the 3 days since Project Prometheus had scattered the Concilium's fleet, the political landscape had shifted more dramatically than it had in the previous 1,000 years. Director Chen stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, watching as traditional alliances crumbled and new ones formed. Different colored lights represented various species' reactions to recent events. Blue for those seeking alliance with Earth, red for those standing firm with the Concilium, and yellow for those waiting to see which way the stellar winds would blow. The Arxer Collective has formally requested diplomatic relations, Colonel Wright reported, adding another blue light to the map. That makes 7 major species in the last 24 hours. The Arxer are interesting, Sarah mused. They've been developing theoretical physics that almost touched on quantum manipulation. They might actually understand what we've achieved. Dr. Rivera entered the command center, his usual calm demeanor disturbed by excitement. Director, you need to see this. We've decoded a transmission from the Mbreki Empire to the Concilium. They're planning to withdraw from their military alliance. The Mbreki. Sarah raised an eyebrow. They've been the Concilium's strongest supporters for millennia. Apparently, seeing their invincible allies scattered by primitive humans has made them reconsider their position. Wright commented dryly. In the depths of the Concilium's capital world, High Counselor Zexra faced a crisis unlike any in her species' history. The chamber, usually filled with the crystalline forms of council members, was half empty. Many had simply stopped attending sessions, focusing instead on securing their own species' interests. The humans must have been planning this for centuries, one council member argued. While we watched their visible technology, they were building something far more dangerous: hope. Hope for every species that resented our control. We still have options, Zexra insisted, though her crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. Our deep space facilities are working on countermeasures to their quantum manipulation technology, and not every species is abandoning us. But can we trust those who remain? Another counselor asked. Or are they simply waiting for a better offer? The discussion was interrupted by a priority alert. A human vessel had been detected approaching Arxer space, not using conventional drives, but simply appearing there, as if the laws of physics were mere suggestions. On that vessel, Dr. Kira Patel, Earth's first quantum ambassador, prepared for humanity's first official diplomatic meeting with another species. She reviewed the briefing materials on the Arxer, a species of highly intelligent, six-limbed beings known for their theoretical physics and philosophical debates. Quantum field stable, her technical officer reported. We can maintain this probability state indefinitely. Kira nodded, watching through the ship's viewport as the Arxer homeworld came into view. Their arrival, bypassing all traditional space travel constraints, was itself a demonstration of Earth's new capabilities. But she knew the real demonstration would be in what came next. They're hailing us, the communications officer announced. The holographic projection showed an Arxer elder, its iridescent scales shifting in complex patterns that their xenologists were still learning to interpret. Welcome, humans, it said through the translation matrix. Your arrival methods are impressive. Thank you, Elder Varks, Kira replied, using their formal title. We come seeking partnership, not dominance. Humanity believes the galaxy is ready for change. The conversation that followed would be studied by historians for centuries to come. The humans and Arxer discussed not just technology and politics, but philosophy, art, and the fundamental nature of reality itself. As the hours passed, both species discovered something they hadn't expected: genuine compatibility. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility beneath Europa's ice, another aspect of humanity's long-term planning was reaching fruition. Dr. Marcus Rivera stood before a quantum containment field, watching as probability itself twisted into new forms. Phase 3 is ahead of schedule, he reported to Director Chen via quantum link. The Concilium thought quantum manipulation was our end goal. They haven't realized it was just a stepping stone. Sarah's holographic form nodded. Keep pushing forward. Our new allies will help accelerate the timeline, but we need to be ready when the Concilium makes their next move. That move was already being planned. In a secure facility on the Concilium throne world, Zexra met with representatives from species still loyal to the old order. The chamber was shielded by every known technology, and several previously unknown ones. The humans think they've changed everything with their quantum manipulation, she addressed the gathered allies. But we've had our own secret projects. If they want to rewrite the laws of physics, we'll show them what happens when you push those laws too far. But even as she spoke, quantum sensors hidden throughout human space detected the subtle changes in reality's fabric. Humanity had spent centuries learning to read these signals. They knew what was coming. In her command center, Sarah Chen allowed herself a small smile as the readings came in. Right on schedule, she murmured. They're about to discover that quantum manipulation wasn't our only secret. And some rules aren't meant to be broken. They're meant to be transcended. The galaxy held its breath, watching as ancient powers and new possibilities clashed in ways no one had imagined possible. The age of certainty was over. The age of quantum reality had begun. Breaking point. The Consilium's counterattack began not with weapons, but with a rupture in the fabric of space-time itself. Across human-controlled space, reality began to fragment as the ancient power unleashed its own version of quantum manipulation, crude but devastating in its intensity. Director Chen watched as emergency alerts flooded her command center. They'd weaponized probability collapse, Dr. Rivera reported, his hands flying over quantum-encrypted controls. They're trying to create cascade failures in our network. Casualties, Sarah demanded, her voice tight with concern. None yet. Our quantum shielding is holding, but Colonel Wright's cybernetic eye flickered as he processed the incoming data. They're not just attacking our technology. They're trying to unwrite the laws of physics in our territory. In orbit around Mars, space itself seemed to shatter like glass, fragments of reality spinning off into impossible geometries. The Consilium's attack was meant to do more than defeat humanity. It was meant to erase the very possibility of their resistance. But even as the attack unfolded, Sarah Chen smiled. They still don't understand, she said softly. Initiate Protocol Omega. Across the solar system, hidden quantum nodes activated in perfect synchronization. The energy signatures were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Not manipulation of reality, but something far more fundamental. In the Consilium war room, High Counselor Zexra watched in triumph as their reality-warping weapon took effect. Let them see what true power looks like, she declared to her remaining allies. Let them learn why we have ruled for so long. Her triumph lasted exactly 3 seconds. The first sign that something was wrong came when their quantum readings simply stopped. Not failed, not overloaded. They simply ceased to have ever existed. Then, one by one, their reality-warping projectors began to disappear, not destroyed but retroactively erased from existence. Impossible, Zexra whispered, her crystalline form vibrating with fear. What are they doing? The answer came in the form of a transmission, broadcast not through conventional means, but seemingly emerging from reality itself. Director Chen's image appeared before them, as solid as if she stood in the room. You assumed we spent 3 centuries working only on quantum manipulation, she said, her voice carrying an almost gentle tone of correction. You thought we were trying to change the rules, but we weren't changing them. We were learning why they exist in the first place. On Earth, Dr. Rivera monitored the readings as Protocol Omega unfolded. Quantum baseline stable, he reported. Reality anchor points holding. We're ready for full demonstration. Sarah nodded. Show them. Across every inhabited world in the galaxy, the sky transformed. Not through technology or illusion, but through fundamental restructuring of how reality itself was perceived. Every sentient being saw, for just a moment, the true nature of existence, the quantum framework that underpinned everything. Your weapon tried to break the laws of physics, Sarah's transmission continued. We learned to understand them, to work with them, not against them. What you see now is reality as it truly is, a symphony of probability and possibility, all interconnected, all part of a greater whole. In the Consilium chamber, Zexra watched as her mighty weapon, the product of millennia of secret research, simply ceased to be. Not destroyed, but rendered irrelevant by a deeper understanding of existence itself. 3 centuries ago, Sarah explained, you thought isolating us would keep us weak. Instead, you gave us time to look deeper than any species ever had. We didn't just develop new technology. We fundamentally changed our understanding of existence itself. The demonstration continued, reality rippling not with destruction, but with possibility. Quantum fields stabilized. Probability cascades resolved themselves, and the fabric of space-time seemed to sing with newfound harmony. This is your final warning, Sarah declared, but her tone held no threat, only invitation. You can continue trying to maintain control through force, or you can join us in understanding something greater. The choice is yours. In orbit around Earth, Colonel Wright monitored the global quantum network. All systems nominal, he reported. Protocol Omega is fully operational. Reality anchor points are stable across all observed space. And our allies? Sarah asked. The Arxer are ecstatic, he replied with a slight smile. Their theoretical models are being confirmed in ways they never imagined possible. The other allied species are responding similarly. They're seeing the true potential of working with universal laws rather than trying to break them. In the depths of Europa, Dr. Rivera's team continued their work, pushing the boundaries of what was possible when you truly understood the nature of reality. Director, he called over the quantum link. We're ready for the final phase. Shall we proceed? Sarah looked at the galaxy map, watching as the political colors shifted. The remaining red lights of concilium loyalty were fading, not through force or fear, but through understanding. The age of control through power was ending. Something new was beginning. Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology, she broadcast to the galaxy. It was our desire to understand, to learn, to grow. We offer that same opportunity to all species now. The question isn't whether you're strong enough to rule, it's whether you're wise enough to learn. The breaking point had come, but not in the way anyone had expected. The galaxy stood on the threshold of a new era, where the fundamental nature of reality itself was not a weapon to be wielded, but a truth to be understood. In her chamber, Zexra faced the choice that would define her species' future. The old way of control and dominance lay shattered, not by force, but by comprehension. Before her lay a new path, one that promised not power over reality, but understanding of it. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see which way the future would unfold. New dawn. One standard galactic year after humanity revealed the true nature of reality to the galaxy, the grand chamber of Earth's quantum assembly hummed with energy. Not just from the advanced technology that maintained its quantum-stabilized fields, but from the presence of representatives from over 1,000 species gathered together for the first time in history. Director Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her form simultaneously present in similar chambers across dozens of worlds through quantum projection. The technology that had once been humanity's greatest secret was now a symbol of unity, allowing beings from across the galaxy to gather without the limitations of physical space. A year ago, she began, her voice carrying across quantum-linked spaces, we faced a choice between conflict and understanding. Today, we celebrate not victory, but transformation. In the audience, High Counselor Zexra's crystalline form shimmered with a new kind of light. The former leader of the Concilium had made perhaps the most dramatic transformation of all. We thought we understood power. She addressed the assembly when it was her turn to speak. We had mastered technology, conquered space, controlled the flow of knowledge. But we had missed something fundamental, the difference between controlling reality and understanding it. Dr. Rivera, now heading the Interspecies Quantum Research Initiative, displayed a holographic representation of the galaxy's quantum network. Points of light showed where different species had established their own quantum nodes, each contributing to a growing web of understanding and cooperation. The network isn't just about communication or transportation, he explained. It's a manifestation of something we discovered during our centuries of isolation, that reality itself operates on principles of harmony rather than dominance. Colonel Wright, his cybernetic systems now integrated with quantum technology, monitored the security of this new galactic framework. But his role had changed from defending against threats to ensuring stability and safety for all species as they explored their new capabilities. The military applications were never the point, he noted during his security briefing. They were just the inevitable first conclusion other species would jump to. The real power was always in understanding. The Arxer, humanity's first allies in the new era, had made remarkable advances by combining their theoretical knowledge with human practical experience. Their representative, Elder Verix, demonstrated new applications of quantum mechanics that even humanity hadn't considered. Together, we're not just exploring reality, Vork's declared, its scales shifting in patterns of excitement. We're understanding our place within it. Each species brings unique perspectives, new ways of thinking, different approaches to universal truths. But perhaps the most profound changes were cultural. Species that had been enemies for millennia found common ground in their shared exploration of reality's deeper nature. The Mbriki, once the Consilium's strongest supporters, now led initiatives in quantum-enhanced artistic expression, creating works that could only exist in probability spaces between standard reality states. Sarah walked through the assembly hall after the main sessions, observing the interactions between species that would have been impossible just a year before. Quantum translation matrices allowed for perfect communication, but it was the shared wonder of discovery that truly brought them together. Director, Dr. Rivera called out, hurrying to catch up with her. The deep space quantum arrays are picking up something interesting. Signals from beyond the galaxy's edge. Sarah smiled. Right on schedule. Phase 4. Ready whenever you give the word. The network can handle intergalactic connections now. In her private office, Sarah accessed the quantum network's deepest levels, where humanity's longest-running projects continued. The message from beyond the galaxy wasn't a surprise. It was an expected development in a plan centuries in the making. Humanity's greatest mistake, she mused, would have been accepting the limitations others tried to place on us. Instead, we used our isolation to look deeper, think further, dream bigger than anyone expected. The quantum display showed the first clear signals from another galaxy, proof that the principles they'd discovered were truly universal. The network they'd built wouldn't just unite their galaxy, it would eventually bridge the vast distances between galaxies themselves. We never wanted to rule, Sarah broadcast to the assembly in their closing session. We wanted to understand. And in understanding, we found something greater than power. We found purpose. The galaxy didn't make a mistake in trying to contain us. They gave us the gift of time. Time to learn truths that could only be discovered through patient observation and deep contemplation. The assembly hall resonated with agreement. Thousands of species united not by force or fear, but by shared curiosity and wonder. The old power structures hadn't been destroyed. They had been transcended. In Earth's quantum labs, new discoveries continued to emerge. The network grew stronger, reality's deeper patterns became clearer, and the possibilities seemed endless. But now, humanity wasn't exploring alone. Each species brought their own insights, their own questions, their own ways of seeing the universe. The greatest revelation wasn't the technology, or even the understanding of quantum reality. It was the discovery that true advancement didn't come from domination or isolation, but from cooperation and shared wonder. As the assembly concluded, Sarah looked out at the representatives of a united galaxy and smiled. The warning humanity had sent, what seemed like a lifetime ago, hadn't been the end of a story. It had been the beginning of one. The dawn of a new age had arrived, not through war or conquest, but through understanding. And somewhere, in the quantum fields that connected all of reality, the echoes of humanity's final message transformed from a warning into a promise of a future where the greatest power lay not in controlling reality, but in understanding it together.